Hello and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. I am your guest host today. Ebuka Obi Uchendu sends his greetings. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon and it's exactly 40 days to the elections. This particular election is so important as so many people are looking forward to it. Not just the Nigerian citizens, even people abroad. Personally, I look forward to this election much more than I look forward to my birthday. I can't remember the last time I had a countdown to my birthday, but I definitely know that it's 40 days to the election. I took a trip down to my ward at Ibuefon, Etiosa local government area of Lagos State, and I discovered that there were less than 10 people actually collecting their PVC. And that is contrary to the reports that in other centers that people are actually finding it very hard to get their PVC. So I'm wondering what exactly is happening. The people of Etiosa, the people that actually have to collect their PVCs from the Ibuefon ward. Please, as much as possible, try and collect your PVC. These elections are so important, and it is your national duty to ensure that the next leaders that we elect are the leaders that we'll be proud of. And that leads me to our discuss today, 2023. What leaders are Nigerians actually looking forward to electing? What leaders do Nigerians want? And what are the manifestos saying? To help us with that discourse, I have with me a public analyst, Mr. Adeola Ojo Ogunbodede. Welcome to the show. Also, I have another policy analyst, and legal practitioner, Timi Olagunju.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, good to see you again. Yeah. Also joining us from Abuja is Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst. Hello, Jide. Good to have you on the show.
Good evening, Ebuka. How are you?
My name is Hero Daniels. I know I look very much like Ebuka, but Ebuka is not on seats today. But thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I mixed that up.
No, it's fine. A lot of people mix it up, but it's all good. All right, let's get straight into it. Before we understand the how, we need to understand the why. So why manifestos? I'm going to start with you, Jide. Timi?
Okay.
Yeah, so why manifestos in the first place? Why manifestos?
Well, on a lighter note, they say that men give manifestos. What do women give with manifestos? You know, but then the point about manifestos is the fact that it is a way to write down vision and in a way that people can then assess whether that vision aligns with their expectation. And that is what the essence of manifesto should be. And in that way, you are able to not just put down vision, but put it in policy language in terms of what you intend to do and what vehicles within government do you intend to do it with or create to do that with. That's what manifestos are really about.
Okay, really profound. Before we get into whether manifestos work or not, we've had 16 years of PDP and we've had 8 years of APC so far. And I don't think the average Nigerian is satisfied with their service. So, Adeola, so tell me, why is it that manifestos sometimes do not necessarily translate to execution?
Basically, I think I will try to look at the antecedents, especially on the people you refer to, the PDP. When they came in 1999, they came with some grandiose plan of what they wanted to do. But by the time they got on to the podium and they were to work, they actually got to know that what they planned to do was not what they met, even on ground. And as a result of that, you actually have to address the issues on ground. They were not able at that time, from what they said, they weren't able to address the programs they had planned in full because of the challenges they actually met on ground. The same thing happened with the Buhari dispensation. When they were coming on board, they came with a very good, wonderful plan in 2015.
Okay.
Oh, and at the end, they said when they got in, they found out that the challenges they met were
bigger than what they expected. So please hold on to that thought. Hold on to that thought. I'm going to get back to you. So Jide, Picking up from where our last guest just stopped from, why do you think that the manifesto we have on paper do not necessarily translate to execution when the leaders are eventually elected?
Thank you very much. Again, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. Matthew Cuomo, the 43rd governor of New York, said famously that politicians campaign in poetry and deliver in prose. So it tells you that it's a global phenomenon for politicians to make a promise or give some promises in the course of campaigns and deliver less than expected when they are elected into office. This may be to some reasons. One is that they didn't do sufficient research about the situation in which they want to they are vying for office for. For instance, many people are contesting election in Southeast, but they are based in Lagos or in Abuja or in Port Harcourt or in Kano. So they are not in tune with the situation at home, and all they do is to do a Google search. If you do Google search without being on ground to listen to people, you may miss it, because it's not everything that is going on ground that you get published online or in newspapers, as it were. So many of them did not invest well in research to know exactly what are the needs of the people. So they parrot what previous seekers of that office have said. Oh, I will give you water, I will give you good roads, I will give you... And the question is that, one, I won't call it manifesto, because manifestos are actually by political parties. It's political party that has manifesto and the constitution of their party. But this blueprint, this roadmap, this agenda that they set for themselves are oftentimes not in tune with the reality on ground. Because it's one thing for you to come up with 7-point agenda, 5-point agenda, and at the end of the day, you didn't calibrate it as to how do you intend to achieve this. We are told, oh, we will move electricity from 5,000 megawatts to 20,000 megawatts within 4 years. The question is how. We never get to know the how, because most of the time, during the campaigns, they prefer rallies to debates. Because in a debate, you may have opportunity to interact, to ask questions. But when you do town hall, when you do rallies, when you do door-to-door, you may now have that opportunity of interrogating the credentials of your candidate. So by and large, they get away with blue murder, promising what they could not deliver. Imagine somebody who is contesting for Senate or House of Reps or State House of Assembly, promising to give electricity, water, and all of that. It does not lie within his or her power to give such, because that is executive function. The function of legislatures are threefold: lawmaking, oversight, and representation. Yes, you may say in terms of representation, I will advocate for XYZ. But largely speaking, the issue of constituency project, which has become part of the new normal in our process, is an aberration. You are not supposed to provide those projects. You are supposed to represent, to make law, and to oversight. So situations where you see politicians making promises of what is not within their ambience to provide, is an aberration and should be corrected.
So I'm going to take it from one of the very profound statements that you made. You said that manifestos are, they're put together by political parties and not necessarily the individual that is running for that particular office. So when they eventually get to the office, they might not be able to deliver because, manifestos were put together by the political party. So how do we troubleshoot that?
Well, it's simple. My brother, it's not actually a good thing that there is a linkage between the party and the candidate. If you ask many of those who are contesting election today, ask them whether they have the manifesto of their parties. whether they have the constitution of their parties. They don't have. They simply don't care, because political parties have become a special purpose vehicles through which people get to power. In fact, many people who are contesting election today would rather want to contest as independents rather than being sponsored by political parties. So at the end of the day, you are not in tune with, you are not aware of the constitution of your political party, you are not aware of the manifesto of your party, then you just got in, paid the necessary nomination fees, went through the primaries, became the candidate, and the next thing we see them do is to set up a parallel structure to that of the parties. They call it campaign office. So they set up this campaign office. The parties do not have input in who are members of these campaign organizations. Recall that ahead of this 2023 election, it got to a point that there seems to be a ruckus between the APC national chairman, Senator Abdullah Adamu, and the candidate of the party, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, over the constitution of the PCC, Presidential Campaign Committee. You recall that the party, under the leadership of Senator Abdullah Adamu, said, look, we were not consulted, we didn't have input into the Presidential Campaign Committee list that was initially published. And you recall that the troubleshooting that took place was that, okay, there will be another list, there will be a second list, an expanded list. So if you just use the party platform to get the ticket and to run for office, without even being in tune with the constitution of the party, without being in tune with the manifesto of the party, how then do you want to implement the manifesto? Many of them, what they simply do is to get some technocrats together to hammer 10, 15, 20-page agenda together. So they will tell you, I have a 7-point agenda. They will not call it manifesto, because it's the party that gives manifesto, that publishes manifesto. But they will tell you, this is my 5-point agenda, this is my 7-point agenda, this is my 3-point agenda. And at the end of the day, the party that is sponsoring them for that office have little or no input into the making of that agenda. So how would they be able to implement a manifesto they are unaware of? I dare you to do that survey. Out of the thousands of candidates running for the office in the 1,491 constituencies in next month's election, ask all the candidates to bring the manifesto and the constitution of their party, whether they will be able to bring it out. We'll get back
to you. I know there's so much to say, but we need to also hear the opinion of other people. But yes, please hold that thought. I'm going to get back to you. Timmy, just picking up from where Jide stopped, you know, he talked about the discrepancy between the political party and having the manifesto as opposed to what the individual candidate does eventually when they get to power. So we've seen all of these discrepancies. So who should we hold responsible for the non-implementation of the promises that have been made prior to the election? Should we now hammer on the political party or the individual that eventually won the elected seats?
I want to take it from a different point of view from what Mr. Jide stated, which is the fact that actually the manifesto is what the candidates intend to manifest, not necessarily the political parties. But what we have in Nigeria is that the manifesto is focused more on the presidential candidates than other candidates, forgetting the fact that the election is constituted not just by the presidential candidates, but also by members of the National Assembly who are, you know, members of a federal constituency, and that's the Senate or House of Reps, and then at the state level, members of the House of Assembly. We don't really call them out in terms of what do you intend to manifest in terms of manifesto. The focal point has always been presidential candidates. And this is why I said, for instance, one of the candidates, right, said that his manifesto is my pact with Nigerians, personalized it. So that means that is his own personal intention, vision for Nigeria.
By one of the candidates, you mean
yes,
Peter Obi
of Labour Party. Of Labour Party. Another candidate, right? Atiku of the PDP said that my covenant. So you can see that the pronoun personalizing those manifestos reflect the fact that those manifestos are not just party manifestos, but manifestos of the candidates in themselves. But the emphasis has always been on presidential candidates. That's what the challenge is. However, in terms of the question you raised, in terms of holding candidates accountable, or even parties accountable, since we don't have independent candidates, right, in elections, when they win offices, is a fact that dovetails into a lot of things. If, for example, the biggest manifesto in Nigeria that is contained in something called the ground norm, the highest law of the land, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chapter 2 of the Constitution, fundamental objectives and directives of state principles.
Yeah.
When you read that chapter, you see that that is the biggest blueprint, using the words of Mr. Jide, or the biggest manifesto that any candidate in office is expected to walk by. In fact, that is the funnel through which other candidates' manifesto is being sievad through. Chapter 2 of the Constitution. And I challenge Nigerians to read Chapter 2 of the Constitution, as it were. You see that the interesting thing about Chapter 2 is that it is non-justiciable, which means that the Constitution in Chapter 2 talks about education. So a candidate telling you that they want to provide education or, quality education is not a new thing. The Constitution in Chapter 2 provides a blueprint. In fact, the education is supposed to be free education, primary, secondary, and the essence of that is to democratize education considering the economic situation of the country that we are in. That's why the Constitution put that there. And so in that regard, right, you see that it is not justiciable, which means you cannot go to court to enforce free education from a government that is in office. If the ground norm, the Constitution, that has dictated the biggest manifesto in Chapter 2 cannot be justiciable in the courts of law, then how would you be able to hold manifestos that are not legal instruments?
Madiola, I'm going to pick up from you. So we've had, like I said earlier, 16 years of PDP, 8 years of APC, and we have so many political parties, but we have two new political parties that seem to really be shopping for Nigerians to vote for them. I'm talking about the Labour Party and, of course, the NNPP. Now, they are not new, but I'm talking of in terms of the push that they have. They have a vigor they've not had in the past elections. So. What should Nigerians do? Do you think Nigerians should try out another party, or do you think that this is not a party issue, this is an individual issue?
Basically, Nigerians have actually shown us already that this time around they are not going party line. They are ready to vote for personalities. And I think that is even the reason why we have Labour Party even in place, even as of now. Because if not for that, Labour Party does not have the structure, does not have the presence anywhere to be able to say I'm even campaigning or I'm participating or I'm actually giving competition in this election. But because of the personality that went there, it has actually become a force to reckon with. The same thing with NNPP. Kwakwanso, if not for Kwakwanso, actually I think the coming in of Peter Obi and Kwakwanso into the foray has made the election in Nigeria actually to be more interesting. Maybe by the beginning of last year, what we're actually trying to look at is PDP and APC. And they thought, okay, it's going to just be like the normal big brick bat. We go this and go that way. But by the time the whole thing changed towards the middle of the year and towards the end of the year, I think it became a new thing. So even what we are discussing now, if not for what transpired toward the end of last year through Obi and Kwakwanso, by now we'll actually be looking at who wins between Atiku and Tinubu.
So it's an individual thing?
Yes, it is individual.
Also, because if you look at it, both individuals you just mentioned also came from the parties, the PDP and APC.
Basically, because actually some people actually said on the light part that someone is light PDP. Labour Party came from PDP, NNPP came from PDP. PDP actually has 3 of the 4 major people competing. APC actually remains as it is. So basically, I would say it's still PDP, light PDP, and APC.
Okay, so why do you think Nigerians are now vouching for these new candidates?
No, basically, there are some things actually the Nigerians wanted. There's been what we call the status quo before now. This is the way we do our election. This is the way we do politics. You take people for granted. We plan, we promise, and at the end, you fail. So we've seen what even has happened in the last 3 or 4 years, to the level that the number of poor people in the country have risen from 90 million to 133 million. It's become, and most of our people, our friends, our colleagues, are jackpying out of the country. Please permit with the use of that word. So basically, we actually want a shift from the norm to a new order. And I think that is it. So basically, as I'm still seeing it, I'm not here to actually, but as I'm still seeing it, I still see a possibility of either APC or PDP coming back to power. Some people may actually disagree. But the issue is they will not take Nigerians the way they have been taking Nigerians in the past. Because they know there are some new people on the block who can take the shift and who can give them a consideration. And I still believe that with what will actually happen in this election, a whole lot of things will change going forward.
I mean, the figures are there. Inflation is close to 21% or more. Unemployment is at about 33%. I'm talking from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics.
More. No,
but we have to work with. We have to.
3.3. That's why I said more. So inflation as of now, another one will come out January 16. As of now, it's 21.6. So it's more.
That's what I'm saying. But we have to work with the figures that the bodies that have been entrusted with this give us, right? So final words. I'm going to quickly move over to our guest in Abuja for his final words. Jide. Quickly, final words.
Yes. Well, for me, we should understand that much as my friends in Lagos are marrying, yes, personalities do matter in elections. But when you are casting your ballot, legally and technically speaking, you are casting it for the party. But we do know that it's the personality within those parties that make or break those political parties. And it's 40 days to the first round of elections on February 25 today. 40 days, let's make it count. Let's troop out en masse on February 25. We cannot have the most expensive elections in Nigeria where there will be very apathetic voter. We need to have mass turnout of voters that will make it justifiable the kind of investment, humongous investment that the federal government is putting into 2023 election, which is close to 480 billion. We are talking of 478.6 billion being invested into 2023 general elections. And we must have value for that kind of money. Yeah. So I will encourage my brothers and sisters who are here to collect their PVCs to do so. They have until 29th of January. And not only collecting their PVCs, but also coming out en masse to vote on February 25 and March 11, 2023.
Thank you very much, Jide Ojo. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show. I would also like to thank our other guests. Just very quickly, like 30 seconds each, if you can have our final words. So, Timmy, final words.
Okay. So, well, basically, integrity is the correspondence of words with action. Right? And so, irrespective of whatever candidates are promising the Nigerian people should on February and March test that with the integrity of the persons that are making the promises. That is what I want to leave the Nigerian people with.
Thank you very much, Timmy. Appreciate you. Adiola?
The future of the country lies in your hands and in my whole hand. So I want to encourage you, please, that you have the power to make a decision for yourself and your children coming after you. And that power is in your PVC. Get it and vote when the time comes. And I want to encourage those who are in charge of PVC distribution, please give it to everybody, no matter where they come from. Let everyone ask his or PVC. Please release everything to everybody and let them exercise their right to vote and be voted for.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that the Independent National Electoral Commission is doing the best that they can to make sure that everybody gets their PVC. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate you.